That's right, folks. It's KP Video News, and we're gonna do these stories here. I got today. This is pertaining to people that have been incarcerated or doing time or something on that level. It's all about time. So, an Alabama man has served 38 years and counting of a life sentence without eligibility of parole due to a robbery he committed in 1982 at the age of 25. He stole $9. According to Shelburne, Simmons, who had 3 prior nonviolent convictions, was prosecuted under Alabama's controversial habitual offender law, with the court deciding that he should be in prison for life. Simmons told Shelburne that when he committed the crime that resulted in his life sentence, he was high on drugs and was only looking to secure his next fix. He wrestled a man to the ground and took the man's wallet, which had $9 in it. He was arrested a few blocks away. His trial, he remembers at this time, lasted all of 25 minutes. His appointed attorney didn't bother to call forth any witnesses. No plea deal was offered. They kept saying, "We'll do our best to keep you off the street for good." Now, 62 years old, Simmons is still being held at Holman Correctional Facility in Alabama. He hasn't had any visitors since 2005 when his sister passed away. He spends his time studying for his GED and trying to, quote, stay away from the Wild Bunch, what Shelburne describes as one of the most violent prisons in the country. Simmons, who has never denied his crimes, has tried to appeal this case repeatedly over the year without a lawyer, and all his appeals were denied. However, even though he has spent the last 38 years behind bars, Simmons is still hoping one day to be free. "I'm not giving up. My hope is to get out of here, settle down with the woman, and do God's will," he told the reporter. "I like to tell people about how bad drugs are." Alabama's habitual offender law can result in sentences like Simmons, depending on the individual's criminal record. The law has been widely criticized as being too harsh. Under the law, if someone commits a Class C offense, such as stalking, custodial interference, and criminally negligent homicide, they can serve anywhere from 1 to 10 years if they have no prior felonies, and 15 years to life if they have 3 prior felonies. So Class B, such as first-degree assault, that's 2 to 20 years with no other felonies, 20 to life with 3 felonies. The Class A offenses, such as first-degree robbery, murder, trafficking, mandates that an individual has 3 priors, they should be sentenced to life without parole, or at least 1 prior with the Class A felony without parole is mandatory. So that's a lot of people don't know that they always praising Bill Clinton. "Oh, Bill Clinton, he's so cool," and all that. Bill Clinton was the one that produced the 3 strikes law. So, under Bill Clinton, that's when the 3 strikes law was initiated. It was something that he created, and everybody's talking about how cool Bill was. Bill was the first black president and all that. But more people have been incarcerated. More black people and more people of color have been incarcerated under the 3 strikes law that Bill Clinton created than any other law in history. So here we go with the next story. A Michigan poet and activist who was handed a 10-year prison sentence after being arrested for possessing 2 joints. He has become the first person to legally purchase recreational marijuana in the state. John Sinclair spent nearly 3 years in jail after he gave an undercover police officer 2 marijuana joints in 1969 when he was 27 years old. Now, 78 years old, the activist, who has campaigned for the legalization of marijuana for decades, is believed to be the first person to buy the drug legally in Michigan after joining hundreds of people who queued at Arbor Wellness in Ann Arbor on Sunday morning. According to Michigan Live, Sinclair spent $160 on a number of pre-rolled joints which had names such as Gorilla Glue Number 9 and Forbidden Jelly. It went swiftly. I got some weed over the counter, Sinclair told the news. It's about time. I've been waiting for 50 years for this moment. In 1971, John Lennon and Yoko Ono famously organized a John Sinclair Freedom Rally at the Crossing Center in Ann Arbor, urging the activist's release. They gave him 10 for 2. What else could Judge Colombo do? Lennon sang during the rally, which also featured performances from Stevie Wonder, Bob Saget, reports Michigan Live. The event also attended by about 15,000 people. Fellow marijuana activist Rick Thompson was also among hundreds of people who queued to buy marijuana on Sunday morning. Michigan Live reported that he noted to Sinclair how things have come full circle. It would be more full if they came and gave me back the weed they took, Sinclair replied. Yeah, guys celebrating out there. Okay, coincidentally, 19-year-old Crystal Kaiser faces life in prison for killing accused pedophile who allegedly abused her. A Wisconsin teenager is facing life in prison after admitting to killing an accused pedophile who allegedly abused her and sold her to other men for sex. Crystal Kaiser, now 19 years old, admitted to killing 34-year-old Randall Voller at his home last year after she says he raped her, according to her attorneys. The gruesome incident unfolded in Kenosha, Wisconsin, about 40 miles north of Milwaukee, in June 2018. Kaiser allegedly shot Voller twice in the head, set his home on fire, and then stole his luxury vehicles, authorities said. When confronted by the police, Kaiser, who was 17 at the time, allegedly confessed to killing him because she was tired of him sexually assaulting her. She also alleged that he sold her to other men for sex, which is why her attorney says she should be protected under the sex trafficking victims law. However, prosecutors said that the law protects those who are sex trafficked doesn't apply wholly in this case. They said they do not believe she was engaged in prostitution at the time of the crime, and they don't believe her life was in danger at the moment. Prosecutors also said they have evidence, including communications with Kaiser's boyfriend and others, indicating that she plotted and planned the murder ahead of time. She apparently even researched how to hide the evidence taken into some of the people around her, and she planned to do. Voller had been arrested and released 4 months before he was killed, court records show. At the time of his death, authorities were investigating Voller with child sex trafficking allegations, and her attorney said Kaiser was one of his victims. Kaiser faces multiple felony charges, including first-degree intentional homicide, possession of a firearm, and arson. Court records show she is currently being held on $1 million bail, and the case is slated to go to trial in February. Kaiser faces life in prison if convicted as charged. This is she's a 19-year-old black girl, and she was 17 at the time, and so she claimed that she was kidnapped, raped, and sold. So I mean, under those circumstances, if those circumstances were true, seems to me she had every right to defend herself. So this is where we are today, folks. You know, it's like if you black, the system is saying it's okay for anybody to do whatever they want to do to you, and you don't have any right to retaliate. But I'm saying you got every right to defend yourself under all circumstances, and that's what the Constitution tells you. That you got a right to bear arms, you got a right to defend yourself. So hey, defend yourself at all costs. What's this? Wait a minute. It's another story here. Another story here that just popped up. Let me see what's going on with it. Give me a minute here. Give me a minute. Let me try to pull it together here. Bear with me. This is live news. So it's the live news you're getting here. Yep. This is live news. And where did that story go? Did it just disappear? I just had it. Well, looks like it disappeared. The story disappeared. Oh, here it is. Okay, let me bring it up right quick and see what I can do with it. Bear with me. This is live news. Live news. Update. Update to my last broadcast. I was telling you stories about Mayor Butts in Inglewood, California, and this story just popped up, and so this is another story that's connected to that. So this is an update on the Mayor Butts story pertaining to him and his alleged girlfriend that he hired as his secretary, that was making something like $350,000 a year, that now they're going through some kind of battle. Okay, so the former executive assistant to Inglewood Mayor James Butts has finally confirmed that he has refused to publicly acknowledge Melanie McDade Dickens worked side by side with Mayor Butts as his executive assistant since 2011 and was recently notified of the city's intent to terminate her last month. Up until now, not much was known about the specifics of her being walked out of City Hall back in July. Our interviewed nearly a dozen current and former city contractors and employees with the knowledge of McDade and Butts' consensual relationship, which McDade was allowed to leverage against the city of Inglewood employees. Many of those employees and contractors were able to answer those questions. The city conducted an administrative investigation where all parties interviewed acknowledged the personal relationship between McDade and Butts. Because of this relationship and fear of being fired, whenever McDade came to certain employees for requests, they routinely did what she asked of them. The payroll manager admitted to undermining the IRS and Franchise Tax Board at McDade's direction. McDade wanted to reduce her tax withholdings so she could show capacity to pay her mortgage, as she was preparing to be approved for an approximately $700,000 home. McDade didn't provide the required IRS W-4 forms to validate her request, allegedly. Unable to come up with the entire down payment, McDade submitted documents alleging an eviction to gain early access to funds in her retirement account. She coerced certain employees to loan her money and make purchases on their personal credit cards, some purchases allegedly without their authorization, for home furnishings. McDade is alleged to have leveraged these personal loans due to getting their spouses work on the mayor's re-election campaign. McDade also altered one of her bonus checks to make it appear as though she received more than one, which she might have submitted to obtain her mortgage loan. All of these actions came to the head when McDade's assistant threatened to resign her position, citing stress. McDade's assistant was being made to handle her personal business, banking at some point, being coerced into agreeing to co-sign on McDade's home, then changed their mind. McDade went further by baiting her assistant with the promise of winning a position on the housing lottery list, since McDade was over the Inglewood Housing Authority at the time. Once the city became aware, McDade was walked out on allegations of abusing her position for personal gain, which she probably learned from the mayor himself. It didn't help matters when McDade was routinely rebuffing Mayor Butts' request to get back together. Despite payroll manager's admittance of committing fraud on McDade's behalf and direct knowledge of her and the mayor's relationship, she faced no consequences. Instead, the manager tried to convince McDade to work out her issues with the mayor, despite knowing McDade caught the mayor with another city employee around Christmas 2018, months after their alleged breakup. There was also discussion between the two that McDade should obtain a breast augmentation, with the payroll manager suggesting a reconstructive professional used by her daughter. This gets deeper and deeper. During McDade's interview, the city made her aware of larger rights, which assured she wouldn't face criminal prosecution related to the answering of the questions on any of the above. McDade repeatedly pleaded the Fifth or outright refused to answer. This deemed her to be insubordinate of City Manager Artie Fields. Fields' role is peculiar because compensation report details McDade was granted merit and salary releases twice a year between 2014 and 2018. The last entry made on October 30th, 2018 showed she was earning an hourly rate of $102.68. Nearly 7 months after McDade alleged she broke up with Mayor Butts. All the while, McDade submitted to several depositions where she refused to be truthful about the state of her relationship with Mayor Butts. McDade has since been given a notice of intention to be terminated. She is now alleging Mayor Butts physically threatened her and has resorted to what is commonly known as stalking. This mirrors a similar claim made in 1993 by Butts' former wife, Minnie Butts. The former Mrs. Butts alleged that her then husband choked her into unconsciousness. Last year, Butts told a longtime critic of his to choke herself during the end of a regular city council meeting. Butts continues to demonstrate a bizarre pattern of behavior where he doesn't respect women. McDade appears to be able to corroborate her claims with eyewitness accounts and text messages. It appears she has dropped claims of sexual harassment due to her failure to report any instances, though through proper channels is outlined in her annual sexual harassment class certifications. So, will a class action lawsuit follow? Word on the street is when McDade pulled this exact stunt on the former executive director of 100 Black Men of Los Angeles, she walked away with over $300,000. So this is not her first rodeo. So that was a news update about the city of Inglewood and a little corruption they got going on over there. Alleged corruption and alleged mishandling of funds and alleged stalking and alleged harassment and abuse. Alleged abuse. So hey, this whole city needs to be investigated. So they got something going on over there that's not real. That sounds a little like Washington D.C. right about now. Might be time for an impeachment over there in Inglewood. Yep, it might be time to clean house.